Good morning. I'm Father X, talking about how fathers can win their child custody case. In this episode, 6B, we're going to talk about the train wreck. That was my first day in family court. Let's get to it. In the last episode, 6A, I discussed my personal story of the mother's domestic violence in our home, in real life, before the courts got involved. Please also check out that episode so this episode makes more sense to you. In this episode, 6B, we'll talk about my first day in court, so you can see how disconnected family court proceedings are from reality. In the next episode, 6C, I'll discuss lessons I learned so you don't make the same mistakes I did. A little bit later in this episode, I'll show you 14 statements I made in my petitions that the judge ignored in order to give the mother temporary custody of our son in the worst interests of the child. And this helps answer the questions: is family court gender biased against dads? Is family court qualified to make decisions in the best interests of the child? At the end of episode 6A, I shared that the day after the mother's final assault against me, I told her I was moving out because she was too dangerous for me to live with. I had already given the mother an ultimatum about 6 weeks prior that if she assaulted me again, I was going to court. So she already knew I was going to family court soon. While I was busy moving out of the apartment that day, the mother went to her therapist, but then went to court. She filed a petition for custody and an order of protection against me. She lied in her petition, pretending that I was committing domestic violence against her, while ignoring all of her assaults against me. The court immediately gave her a temporary order of protection, ex parte, without any analysis of the circumstances. I know that because I read those transcripts later on. I saw how courts just give out restraining orders like they're going out of style. And then she went to the police station and filed a false police report against me, claiming I assaulted her. The next day, the police arrested me, like clockwork. Based on the police paperwork, it was clear to me that the police didn't conduct any real investigation before deciding to arrest me. Essentially, the police were simply a tool she could use against me to get custody, a tool that was incapable of any intelligent thought about what really happened. I was arrested. I spent the night in jail, and then I was out with no bail the next day. A few days later, I had my first day in family court. I filed my petitions for custody and an order of protection against the mother in court quickly before this hearing because I had them from 2 months prior. Those were the petitions I almost submitted to court but chose not to in order to give the mother one more chance. I just added a few bullet points about her violence and craziness from the last 2 months. I also included copies of the prior police reports I had filed against the mother. When I went to court, the referee had already heard the mother's story the prior week. The referee is like a mini judge who can make temporary orders. And the first thing that was discussed in court, before anybody asked me my side of the story, or before we discussed the allegations against the mother, was that the mother was proposing that I have weekend visitation from Friday 6 p.m. to Sunday 3 p.m., less than 2 days a week. And the referee was playing along with that whole idea like it was just status quo. It showed me the automatic gender bias of the court. My lawyer had to interject and declare, "Before we even get to that point, we assume that my client doesn't want custody of the child. Our petition is for custody. We want the child." And my lawyer started laying down actual reasons. He said, "The child is 9 months old. My client has been there from day one. He's only been recently employed full-time. Prior to that, he was the full-time parent in the home. We're asking the court to have my client receive physical custody of the child since that order hasn't been made. My client is in just as good a position as the mother, if not a better position. There are some very significant issues in this case that have not been addressed, including what we believe to be the mother's mental health issues, which places the child at great risk of danger. And the father doesn't need support. He can do this on his own. He does work full-time. He does have childcare already established." The referee ignored most of what my lawyer said, and then only focused on, "Who will be caring for the child while he's working?" We established it was a babysitter trusted by both parents. Up to this point, the mother's lawyer literally had nothing intelligent to say about the best interests of the child, or why the mother should have primary custody. But he said, "It makes no sense to take a 9-month-old infant from its mother's arms to place him with a neighbor of the father while the father is at work." This sounds like a decent argument, but it's easily taken down by reality and the best interests of the child. So my lawyer replied with, "Just because someone's unemployed and they have quantity of time doesn't mean they become the fit parent. It's the quality of the interaction that's most important. My client has seen how her frustrations manifest in an inability to care for the child, to the point where the father is concerned." And the referee basically ignored this and jumped straight to, "Are you objecting to every weekend?" The mother's lawyer quickly agreed to that, since he proposed it to begin with. My attorney tried to interject again, but the referee said, "This is not a difficult decision. The child will be with the mother on weekdays and with the father on weekends, from Friday 6 p.m. until Sunday at 3 p.m. Later on, I realized, no, it's not a difficult decision if you ignore the best interest factors that you're required to analyze, and then just find a reason to rubber stamp the mother. This was all happening so fast, so it was hard to really interject intelligent analysis, but I quickly proposed Thursday evening to Sunday afternoon, so it's 3 nights with the father. Then the mother's lawyer objected to a 50-50 custody arrangement, but didn't say anything intelligent as to why. And the referee declined my request, saying, "For the father to get an extra night, it will mean that the child spends the day with somebody else, like a babysitter on Friday." My lawyer argued back, saying, "He would use a babysitter just like any other parent who's working." But the referee shut him down, saying, "I'm denying that request, and the order will be as neutral as it can be." My lawyer retorted with a sharp reply, "But it's not neutral." He was ignored, even though he spoke the truth. 50-50 would have actually been neutral, so the referee was lying by pretending she was being neutral. Also, I wish I had countered the referee's decision by proposing Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, 3 nights a week, until Monday morning, and alternate Thursday nights. That would have undermined the referee's argument, but it all happened too fast to allow for thorough thinking. And that was it for the decision on temporary custody. All done. Before I continue discussing this train wreck, please like, subscribe, and share. Also, if you find this information helpful and you want to support this channel, please donate via my YouTube channel's About page. You can donate via PayPal or Venmo. So then the referee wanted to talk about the orders of protection. She had already heard from the mother the prior week. The referee asked to hear my version of what happened the final night we were together, the events after which I was arrested. I told the referee, "The mother jumped out of bed angry because I was falling asleep. She started screaming at me. She ran around the house angry. I told her to stop. She grabbed a knife. She ran from the kitchen to the back room, past the baby's crib, trying to break into a business cabinet that I have. Grabbing knives is something that she's done on multiple occasions, scaring the hell out of me. And I followed her into the back room to make sure she's not doing anything to the kid. I watch her trying to break a cabinet. She comes out. She tears open my briefcase, tearing things out in a fit of rage. It's a frantic rage that I have to manage. That sort of behavior often happens after 9 p.m. Could be from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Her hostility and rage, it's overwhelming, and there's not much I can really do about it, or stop it. I have to try and calm her down. I'm afraid to leave the house. If I leave the house, she'll continue to destroy things. She's shredded documents. She's broken phones, threatened to break laptops. I'm afraid of leaving the boy with her." I then told the referee that the criminal allegations against me were ludicrous and insane, and I intend to prove my innocence. And then the referee made a decision on the orders of protection, saying, "I think it's sufficient to issue, favoring mother against the father, a temporary order of protection. Based on what I've heard, I'm not issuing any orders in the other direction." So the referee quickly decided to not give an order of protection to the father against the mother. My lawyer jumped out of his seat so fast that his feet were 6 inches above the ground. He was yelling at this referee, saying, It makes absolutely no sense for my client not to get an order of protection issued in his favor for the very same reasons that the mother has an order in her favor. The allegations are substantially the same. The only difference is who filed first. If the court's going to issue an order for the mother based on her allegations, and her allegations are 2 sentences long in her petition, my client's petition is 8 pages long, including domestic incident police reports, and the referee looked at him cluelessly, saying, 8 pages? The referee said she had only read the first page. My lawyer yelled at her that my petition begins with, "I was punched repeatedly in my face." Think about that, guys. This referee never bothered to read the father's petition for custody, or an order of protection, or to look at the multiple police reports I submitted against the mother. And yet, she still gave the mother temporary custody. If that's not the definition of gender discrimination, I don't know what is. So the referee sat there for a couple of minutes, looking through my petitions quickly. Then she had this exasperated look on her face. The referee didn't comment on the claims in my petition, but I could tell she was a little shocked. I will show you my claims shortly in this video for you to see. And then the referee agreed that I should also have an order of protection against the mother, both ways. But then I realized, if the referee had not read my petitions, then her entire custody order, based only on the mother being available, is not logical. So we said, hey, given that you only just now read my petitions and you have new information, we should revisit your custody arrangement, and the mother shouldn't have primary custody. There are the mother's suicidal threats, which are very troubling. Of course, the mother's lawyer objected to changing custody, but he said nothing intelligent as to why. And the referee decided, it does not change the orders of parenting time which I issued. Okay, thank you. And that was it. We were dismissed. So the question for you is, what did the referee read in my petition and choose to ignore? When you look at this, ask yourself, did the referee do a lazy job of deciding custody? Does the referee's decision demonstrate competence by a family court practitioner? Does her decision reflect gender bias? What would a competent person do when they learn the following? In addition, I want you to see how we wrote our allegations, because they may help you write yours. Ultimately, I won custody and an order of protection by proving these allegations. First, father has been the primary caretaker for the child. Father performed every duty for the well-being and care of the child, such as feeding him, changing him, washing him, and taking him to his doctor's appointments. Mother has threatened to leave the state with the child and relocate to Florida so that the father would not be able to see his son. Mother would routinely yell and scream at the father, which would scare and at times wake the child. Mother has gotten angry and runs around the apartment with knives, exposing the father and child to significant risk of injury. Father has learned that the mother was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, with symptoms of extreme anger, outbursts, and distortion of facts. Mother has exhibited paranoia, rage, depression, and suicidal thoughts. While the mother is receiving medication, father feels that such medication has not been effective to date. Mother grabbed a kitchen knife and threatened to end her pregnancy right then and there. Mother repeatedly punched father after accusing the father of not wanting to have sex with her. Before punching the father, the mother ran into the kitchen and retrieved a large kitchen knife and frantically ran into the child's bedroom. Mother verbally assaulted him, and the assault turned physical when the mother started to punch the father repeatedly about his head and eye with a closed fist, resulting in the father sustaining a cut about that eye. The mother further kicked the father about his body. The father had to defend himself by blocking the punches and kicks while trying to pack a bag so that he can leave the apartment. Mother repeatedly punched the father about the head, face, and body. As a side note to you viewers, there were multiple incidents of domestic violence, and I listed each one separately, so these actions repeat themselves. Mother threw a bottle at the father's head at a distance of 6 feet, narrowly missing him. The mother then proceeded to repeatedly punch and strike the father about the head. Mother has consistently verbally abused the father, including spitting on his face on numerous occasions. Mother has engaged in a course of harassment against the father in that she had placed a digital recorder in the apartment to record the conversations of the father when he was home alone. The mother has broken the cell phone of the father. The mother has also threatened to break the father's laptop. It's obvious to me now that if each parent claimed the other was violent, and domestic violence is a major factor in determining custody, then the referee needs to decide based on those facts instead of ignoring them. That's what a competent person would do. Also, if the referee wasn't going to take the time to figure out the truth, she should have issued 50-50 custody because we have equal rights in the absence of any real fact-finding. But instead, when this referee was faced with dual accusations of domestic violence, she chose to ignore them and just cherry-pick one best interest factor to rubber stamp the mother with primary custody: that the mother was unemployed and available to take care of the child. Obviously, this is half-baked analysis because it's not in the best interest of the child to be primarily raised by a suicidal, violent, knife-wielding parent, even if that parent is available. In addition, as I shared with you in episode 5B, I know of other cases where the father was the unemployed parent, but the court still gave temporary custody to the mother anyway. In hindsight, I realized the court assumed the only issue to solve was the order of protection against the father. The court didn't even consider giving me an order of protection against the mother until we forced her to read my petition. There was also no discussion of the possibility that the mother could be lying about domestic violence in order to get custody of the child, which is idiotic since we already know how easy it is for mothers to lie about domestic violence to get custody. Also, the idea of me being the primary custodial parent was beyond the realm of possibility for this court, even though the law states that both parents have equal rights to their child. This referee said she was giving the primary custody to the mother until the court figured out the truth, but that took 3 years. It's crucial that you get 50-50 or primary custody during that first appearance, because whatever you get, you'll likely be stuck with it for a long time. If you're non-custodial, you have a huge mountain to climb to later prove the judge should reverse the custody arrangement. Before I went to court, I knew I had to write an extraordinary petition to shock the court so the mother wouldn't get default custody. But I was still a deer in the headlights. I didn't know the reality of how they executed their bias or what I could do to counteract that bias. I didn't understand a temporary custody order could last 2 or 3 years. I was naive to think the custody order could be changed in a month or two when we went back to court to get the facts straight. In my profession, we try to solve problems in a timely way. But in court, getting the facts straight wasn't part of the process until we finished the trial 3 years later. One reason my detailed petition didn't work is because even though I wrote down the mother's insane behaviors in my petition, the referee didn't even bother to read my petition, so she was uninformed. I didn't spend enough time talking about the mother's behaviors out loud to the referee during that first hearing to force reality into the verbal discussion. Another reason is that even though I did state the mother's behaviors that would cause alarm to any neutral person, the referee ignored pretty much everything I said. I never anticipated the ability of judges to actively ignore whatever the father says. Only over time did I realize you have to force the judge to understand the reality of what happened in your home. If you don't do that, then it's fair to assume the judge will take the lazy way out, ignore the facts, and rubber stamp the mother as they do in a status quo custody case. So that was the train wreck that was my first day in family court. I gave you a couple of lessons learned in this episode. Since the first day is so important, in the next episode I'm going to talk about additional lessons I learned about the first day of court. I'll also give you some arguments you can use for the judge that I wish I had known. These might be the darkest days of your life. They were for me. I'm making these educational videos to help you navigate this nightmare. If you subscribe, you can get updates when I post more videos. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing with your friends who are in a similar situation. If you like, subscribe, and share, it'll also help the YouTube algorithm get this message out to more fathers in our position. Also, if you find this information helpful and you want to support this channel, please donate via my YouTube channel's About page. You can donate via PayPal or Venmo.